They have already taken over the biggest sports in the world, and they will buy basketball next. Very soon, the NBA may not be the biggest basketball league in the world because a new league you have never heard of is coming, and very soon, the best basketball players will play in that league instead of the NBA. No, I'm not talking about the EuroLeague, I'm talking about the SBL. Do not laugh, you are watching the most serious video in NBA YouTube history. There has never been a more dangerous threat to the sport of basketball than this new league. Watch this video until the end and I will tell you exactly why the NBA is in big trouble. The Saudi Basketball League. Right now this league is terrible. Forget the NBA, forget even the EuroLeague, this Saudi league isn't even in the top 10, top 20 best domestic leagues. The best player in the Saudi league right now is a 35-year-old washed up DeAndre Liggins.
Who the fuck is that guy?
Why should any of you watching believe it's the biggest threat to the NBA in decades? Because money talks.
Someone said to me that when you look at the richest men in the world, like they look at like Warren Buffett and Bill Gates and all those
George Soros, all those
billionaire
dudes.
characters, that they're not really the richest men in the world. That the real richest men in the world are these Saudi guys and a lot of these oil guys, but they're monarchs and they don't have to disclose their wealth. So this dude who knows one of those cats was telling me that he's probably a trillionaire.
The amount of wealth in the Middle East is unfathomable. Nobody can compete with the Saudis. They are buying every sport one by one. Let's talk about combat sports because historically speaking, Las Vegas, Nevada has always hosted the world's biggest super fights. That is beginning to change. Francis Ngannou and Tyson Fury are about to have one of the biggest crossover fights in history, not in Vegas, but in Saudi. And if the Tyson Fury-Alexander Usyk fight for the undisputed heavyweight title ever happens, that will be in Saudi also. Did you know that the WWE has reportedly been bought out entirely by a Saudi investment fund? The UFC are regularly hosting massive cards in the Middle East. But it's not just combat sports, it's individual and team sports and even entertainment as well. Earlier this year, the Saudis bought golf. Literally, they bought the entire sport. The PGA Tour has traditionally been the biggest until the Saudi-funded Live Golf came along and started offering some of the craziest contracts you'll ever see to the best golfers. Phil Mickelson signed a $200 million deal with them. Tiger Woods was offered around $800 million. It's crazy because just this summer, Live Golf, which was originally started to be a competitor, ended up merging with the PGA like the NBA and ABA did to become one larger enterprise. Think about it, the first Live Golf Tour was summer of 2022. It was founded in 2021, which means within 1 year they merged with the most prominent professional golf tour that had existed unrivaled for a century. That's how quickly things can change for any sport, and the NBA is no exception. We are seeing it now more than ever in the world's biggest sport, football, aka soccer for my American viewers. Less than 1 year ago, the Saudi Premier League was irrelevant. I couldn't tell you who the biggest name in Saudi football was. Was it Odion Igalo? A guy who in NBA terms is actually pretty comparable to DeAndre Liggins. He was an alright player, he played for some relevant teams, but was never at any point in his career a top player. At the beginning of this year, everything changed. A relatively unknown Saudi club called Al Nassr signed Cristiano Ronaldo for a deal worth $200 million per season. This was the biggest contract ever signed in the sport, and in comparison to the NBA, which is one of the best paying sports leagues, Cristiano Ronaldo is making almost 4 times as much per season as the highest earning NBA player. That would be the equivalent of LeBron James going to Saudi. To be honest, on a global scale, it's even bigger. You could make a strong argument that Cristiano Ronaldo is the most famous man on planet Earth. He has the most social media followers of any athlete and any person. Name a famous person: Selena Gomez, Justin Bieber, Kim Kardashian, Drake. Ronaldo has more followers than them. A lot more. Cristiano Ronaldo signed this contract well past his prime at 37 years old. So football at the time saw the Saudi League as an emerging retirement home for the game's biggest stars to collect a big payday at the end of their careers, like MLS or the Chinese League. What they didn't expect was what Ronaldo said in this infamous interview to actually come true.
Step by step, I think this league will be the top 5 leagues in the world, but
this summer, Karim Benzema, the current Ballon d'Or winner, which is football's equivalent to the MVP award, signed a similar $200 million deal with another Saudi club. He was the MVP of football. That's the equivalent of Joel Embiid leaving the NBA to go play in Saudi right now. Ronaldo's club Al Nassr signed Sadio Mane, the runner-up for the 2022 Ballon d'Or. That's the equivalent of NBA MVP runner-up Nikola Jokic leaving the NBA to go play in Saudi. And then you've got Neymar Jr., one of the 5 biggest sports stars in the world. He's 31 years old, in his prime, with much to offer the game. He signed with Saudi club Al Hilal and will make around $150 million a season. Look what else is included in Neymar's contract. He gets a private jet, a mansion with 25 bedrooms, 5 full-time butlers, a full-time personal driver, a massive swimming pool, 3 saunas, 3 supercars, and all bills and expenses paid by the team. Also, every time he posts about Saudi on social media, he gets a 500k bonus. Where in the NBA are you getting all that? I know it's easy to say, well, that's football. Trust me, the idea of the best footballers playing in Saudi is just as crazy to us Europeans as the best American basketball players playing in Saudi will be to you as well. Understand that in football, the best players have always played in Europe. Just like in basketball, the best players have always played in America. That is beginning to change. I want you to take a look at this list of the top 10 highest earning footballers in the world. Only one player plays in Europe, Kylian Mbappe, and PSG, the club he plays for, is owned by a Qatari sports fund. In a matter of months, Saudi have come from nowhere and with its infinite pool of money have come for all the biggest names in the sport. And they aren't done yet, as it's been reported that the Saudis are looking to invest another $20 billion to bring the best football stars to their league. Now this is where the NBA comes into it. Last month, Kylian Mbappe was offered a historic 1-year deal worth $700 million per year. Let's break down that contract. In 1 year, Kylian Mbappe would make almost double what LeBron James has made in his entire 20-year NBA career. Jaylen Brown, who just signed the richest contract in NBA history, would make just 8% of what Mbappe would make per year. How about this one? Kylian Mbappe would make more in 1 year than the entire NBA put together. I say Mbappe would make more, but he actually rejected this insane contract. Lionel Messi turned down $1 billion as well, but he at least got shares in Apple and Adidas. Kylian Mbappe might be the only man under 25 on planet Earth who can turn down that kind of money. Got offered damn near $1 billion for a 1-year vacation. But back on the topic, when those figures started making headlines in the American media, NBA players took notice and responded in a way that has the Saudis licking their lips. LeBron James tweeted, "Me headed to Saudi when they call Rich Paul and Maverick Carter for that 1-year deal." Draymond Green said, "They got basketball leagues too, right? I don't think the ink on my contract has dried up yet." Giannis Antetokoumpo tagged the team saying he looks like Kylian Mbappe and they should sign him. Yeah, you could say they're joking, but best believe the Saudis see this. And there's only one person to blame, Giannis Antetokoumpo. He hasn't stopped tweeting the Saudis, and after tweeting that him and Neymar are the best duo, the Saudi club finally replied to him with his own custom-made jersey. Perhaps a hint of what's to come in the future. And it makes you ask the question, What is stopping them from taking over basketball the way they have every other sport? I'll tell you what's stopping them. Nothing. And that's why it's going to happen. Look, I'm not here to comment on their motives as to why they're investing so much money in sport, but the country has been accused of sports washing to fix their reputation worldwide. Also, Saudi may have unlimited money, but they don't have unlimited oil. So something the nation is striving for is to diversify the wealth in their economy and not be so dependent on oil. Owning all of sport is a great way to make money. And that's exactly why the Saudi Sports Investment Fund is said to be worth over 600 billion. They want to become known as the home of all sports and will invest whatever it costs to make that happen. In order to do so, they will have to tap into the American market at some point. And the NBA is the biggest American sports league. I know Americans think the NFL is bigger, but globally, basketball is a much more popular sport. I'll put it like this. The NBA has more social media followers than the NFL and MLB combined. So if and when the Saudis come for an American sport, it will be the NBA. Now this is my prediction and a take that we will revisit further down the line and replay when it happens. Because I'm predicting that in the very foreseeable future, a big name basketball star will sign a historic contract to play in Saudi. I'm talking 1 year over $100 million type of thing. Who that player is, I have no idea. It could be anyone. Because if they can sign Cristiano Ronaldo, they can sign LeBron James too. Who I would keep an eye out for though is big name players towards the end of their careers. The perfect example of someone who would be tempted by the Saudi money is someone like Russell Westbrook, a former MVP now making $3.8 million a year. Hypothetically, if Russell Westbrook was offered, let's say, 2 years, $200 million from the Saudis, do you think he would reject that? We already got James Harden talking about going to play in China. He seems done with the NBA and everything that comes with it. Are you telling me that if Saudi money was on the table, James Harden at this point wouldn't take it? I think he would. The point I'm trying to make is whether it's Russ, Harden, or someone else. If that type of money is being thrown around to NBA players, someone will accept it. And what will end up happening in the beginning is that Saudi will have one megastar in a terrible league with no competition. I'm not joking, current Russell Westbrook would go over there and put up Wilt Chamberlain numbers. So once the Saudis make their first big splash, they will be tasked with improving the standard of the league, which the NBA has just made very easy for them because of this.
And this started with like James and Ben and all these guys doing this shit. It's bad for the league. This is why our CBA deal that we just signed, and I don't even want to get heavy into that. That's why you're seeing all these teams right now with, you either make 50 million or 2. It's the most lopsided contract teams. I mean, it's a joke, bro.
The latest CBA agreement is set up in a way that screws over the average NBA player. The NBA has salary caps. The Saudi Basketball League does not. They have unlimited money and no regulations in place stopping them from spending. So what they can and will do to improve the standard of their league is precisely what they're doing in football. They start offering the underpaid mid-level guys superstar money. Austin Rivers, here's 2 years, 50 million. The ripple effect that ends up happening is now all the mid-level guys who are getting traded from city to city and on short-term contracts, they are going to start running to Saudi to get the quick bag. And trust me when I tell you, those figures I mentioned for Rivers are not out of the question. That contract is comparable to what Jordan Henderson signed, someone who was a world-class player at no point in his career. In NBA terms, Jordan Henderson was never an all-star, but he is now one of the top earning athletes in the world. The Saudis can even accelerate the process of improving the standard of their league by poaching the top guys in EuroLeague. The average EuroLeague player isn't even making $1 million a season. The top guys are probably making under $5 million. If the Saudis decide to take that approach, in a very short time period, the Saudi Basketball League will become the best league outside of the NBA. It will be easy for them to surpass the EuroLeague. Now these next 2 reasons are why and how Saudi basketball can compete and surpass the NBA. International players, particularly Europeans, have no reason to stay in the NBA if they can make more money elsewhere. Guys like Jokic, Giannis and Luka Doncic, they go to America to play in the NBA because the NBA is where the money is. You're not going to make $200 million over 5 years anywhere in Europe. Do you really think these European guys, like Nikola Jokic, who has a Finals MVP trophy and doesn't care enough to look after it, think he cares about legacy and all these other things we pretend is so important in the media? Is that going to be enough to deter them from going to Saudi and making more money closer to home? I'm telling you right now, it's not. European players don't have the same emotional attachment to the NBA as American hoopers do. Most of them aren't really even NBA fans because they didn't grow up watching the NBA because of the time zones. What happens if Saudi goes to Luka Doncic and offers him Kylian Mbappe money? Even if they offered half, maybe even a quarter of that, he'd probably take the money. So Saudi has an opportunity to get all the European NBA stars, all the mid-level guys in the NBA, big name NBA stars at the tail end of their career, but most importantly of all, they can steal the best American players when they're young. See, the NBA is set up in a way right now where it isn't until year 4 or 5 where the best young NBA players receive big money. A lot of these guys are superstars in high school. Think about it, they have to finish high school, do a year in college, play 4 years in the NBA, sustain a level of play high enough for almost half a decade before finally receiving the bag in their early mid-20s. Think about this, Victor Wembanyama has been considered a generational prospect for at least 2 to 3 years now. It will be another 4 years until he is eligible for his rookie extension, which will be over $200 million. But for the next 4 years, the best prospect since LeBron James will make around $13 million a season. Unlike the NBA, the Saudi Basketball League doesn't have a one and done rule. They don't have a draft or salary regulations to abide by either. Therefore, there is absolutely nothing stopping them from going to the next Victor Wembanyama when he is 16 years old and offering him a supermax contract before he even goes to college. You look at all the G League Ignite guys who are bypassing the traditional path to make a quick bag. Scoot Henderson and Jalen Green, they got $500k each. Saudi could blow the G League Ignite out the water. Saudi at 17 years old could offer them 2 years $10 million. By default, they'd become the highest paying alternative to college basketball. So getting the best young American players to play in the Saudi League is actually very easy. The biggest challenge they'll be tasked with is keeping them around when they're of age to go to the NBA. And then it's as simple as paying them more money than they'd make in the NBA. Scoot Henderson is making $8 million next year. They can double, triple, quadruple, they can pay whatever they want to any of these guys. It's not even like they need to know ball to be able to scout the best young players. Just look at the McDonald's All-American team and sign all those guys. You're telling me they're going to pass up on Saudi money to go play in college for free. Do you understand what this does to the NBA? How vulnerable they are to Saudi? The players' payment structure that's already in place would be annihilated. Because in order to keep the best young players in the NBA, they'll have to start giving rookies, college guys, max contracts. They might have to get rid of the draft. Because if the NBA isn't paying them, the Saudis will, and trust me, they can afford to do so. Probably the biggest deterrent that would stop a lot of these guys from going is leaving the United States to go play in the Middle East. But the possibilities for the Saudi Basketball League are infinite because the money is infinite. What is stopping them from doing exactly what they did with Live Golf and having their basketball league based in the United States? Forget creating an alternative to college. They could make an alternative professional basketball league and base it in the United States. That way you would have the NBA and this new Saudi funded league, and the Saudi funded league would pay the best players more money. If you're an NBA fan and you're not scared, you ain't paying enough attention. I mean, take a look at this. You got random fans handing out Rolexes when a player already making $10 million a year has a good game. When have you ever seen a fan in America or Europe do this? You don't, because it doesn't happen. I am predicting Saudi to declare war on the NBA in the next few years. Understand that everything I've talked about in this video, the Saudis have already done in other sports. And I don't think any sport or league, whether it be the English Premier League, the NBA, the PGA, I think every single one of them is in trouble because none of them can go band for band, M for M, heck B for B with the Saudis. No chance. They can't compete. If you have made it up to this point in the video, I want you to remember this. I want you to share it. I want you to react to it. Because what I'm talking about is inevitable and it's coming sooner than you think.